In this video, we're going to be discussing an experiment that determines the wavelength of all the spectral lines of different colors which are created by the mercury spectrum, which we obtain by using a diffraction grating that's been placed in minimum deviation position. So we all know that a diffraction grating is a plain glass plate on which very closely spaced fine lines are carved by a diamond tip, and the order of the slit width is approximately equal to that of visible light, which is why you can observe diffraction. So here we'll be observing Fraunhofer diffraction, which is the type of diffraction when both the light source and the screen are at a very great distance from the object, so that the light waves behave as plane wave fronts, which means that the light source appears to be coming from infinitely far away. We're going to make adjustments to the spectrometer so that this happens, and I'll be discussing that while explaining how to prepare the spectrometer for the experiment. So the formula that we're using in this experiment is lambda is equal to 2c sine d by 2 whole divided by n. So here c is the grating constant, which means the distance that's between two consecutive lines on the grating. And you have n, which is the order of the spectrum, which will be 1 for this experiment. And you also have capital D in this formula, which is the angle of minimum deviation. This will be calculating in the experiment. And basically the point here is that you will be placing the grating at the minimum deviation angle, and you will be taking readings of the spectral lines positions at minimum deviation angle, and then you'll also be taking readings for direct readings. So you have to find the position r naught, which is the direct reading, and r, which is the minimum deviation reading, and the difference between those two is what will be used to find the capital D in the formula. Let's discuss the parts of a spectrometer. So you have the slit in on the collimator, which is the source of the light, and it will also be acting as the object that the telescope will be observing. So this slit's width can be adjusted using a screw that's given on the side. The slit is present at the end of the collimator. So collimator is a lens or mirror that takes the divergent light rays entering the slit and makes it into a parallel beam, so that because so here we'll be observing Fraunhofer diffraction, right? So you'll be needing parallel beams of light, so that's the role that the collimator plays here. Then you have the telescope on the opposite end. The telescope has an eyepiece through which you'll be observing, and it also has a focusing knob which you'll be using to focus on a distant object, and you will not touch it after that. And the collimator as well has a knob like this which you can use to focus a clear sharp image of the slit. Then you have the prism table where you'll be keeping, in most cases, you'll be keeping either a prism or a grating on this when you're using a spectrometer. So in this experiment, we're keeping a grating. So you can adjust the position of the grating on this prism table. And then you have leveling screws on both the prism table and on the spectrometer itself, which you can use to make sure that it's leveled by using a spirit lamp. And then you also have vernier scales on both sides of the prism table beside it, which is what you'll be using to take the readings. So let's begin with the preliminary adjustments for the spectrometer. So the first step is to make sure that the eyepiece is adjusted properly so that the image of the crossfire is clearly observed in the telescope. So for the first part, you have to adjust the telescope and focus it on a distant object. So here there is a switchboard with a screw. So I'm going to focus on that, and I'm going to show the initial and final images which you can see, so that you can see that the screw is being focused upon by the telescope. So here you can see the difference between the two images. So initially you can see that there's a blurry image of the switchboard taken from very far away, and once I had focused the image, so of course because of the camera angle you can't see the crossfire exactly focused on a screw, but ideally you have to place the crossfire such that it's correctly at a screw, and you should be able to see a sharp image of the screws, the ridge inside the screw. So if you can see that, that means you're focused on an infinitely far away object. It's not exactly infinitely far away, obviously, but it's far enough away so that you will get parallel beams of light. So that's the point of focusing on a distant object, because our main goal in this experiment is to see Fraunhofer diffraction, right? So for that, the first thing you need is parallel beams of light. So once the step is done, you have to bring the collimator in line with the telescope. So once the telescope is focused, you are not supposed to disturb the telescope's focus, the screw. And now once these two are in line, you have to narrow the slit width using this screw and make it as narrow as required. And once that is done, you can illuminate the slit with white light and focus the screw of the collimator to get a sharp, clear image of the slit. Once that step is complete, you take a spirit level and place it on the three screws and check for the position of the air bubble. It should be at the exact center. So this is fine. In the same way, repeat it for these two. Also fine. And these two. So in case of any adjustments to be made, you can rotate the screws given here to level the spirit level. And now we'll move on to finding the least count of the spectrometer scale. So it's a circular scale, as you can see, and it works just like the vernier scale that we normally use in traveling microscopes or vernier calipers. So here on the main scale, you can see that 20 divisions correspond to 10 degrees in angle. So that one main scale division will be corresponding to half a degree, or 30 minutes, 30 arc minutes. And now the number of vernier scale divisions, as is given on the scale, is 30. So the least count will be given by 1 MSD divided by number of VSD. So that is 30 minutes divided by 30 divisions, which is 1 arc minute or 60 arc seconds. So once all the adjustments are done and the grating is put into the prism table stand, you'll be able to observe the spectrum inside the telescope's eyepiece. And I'll show you the direction in which you'll have to move. So at first, you'll be able to observe the slit. And as you move the telescope towards the left, you will slowly be able to see, to move it a lot, because the slit image will be at the extreme end. So you'll be able to observe, after moving it for a while, a distinct violet 1 light, violet 2 line, violet 1 line, violet 2 line, and so on. So you'll be able to see blue green, green 1, green 2, yellow 1, yellow 2, and finally red. You could even see 2 reds, depending on how accurate your initial adjustments are. So that's the, as you move towards the left, you'll be able to see all the colors, spectral line. So the small circle on the left bottom corner is what you'll be observing when you look through the spectrometer's telescope. So basically, here you'll be seeing the spectral lines at minimum deviation angle. So you'll be noting that for each different color, whereas while all of those values are R for each color, R naught will be fixed. So R naught is the direct reading, and that you'll be getting by finding the position of the slit. So when you turn the telescope towards the right, you'll eventually get to the image of the slit. So you'll be able to see the slit, and that position will be the direct reading R naught, and it's fixed for the entire experiment. And now for finding the minimum deviation, you have to move the telescope to align the crosswire with the green line, green spectral line. Yes, so now I have the telescope's eyepiece on the crosswire on the green line. So what I have to do now is I have to note down the initial reading of the circular scale, and then while keeping an eye on the line, I have to slowly move the prism table until, so the green line will start moving away from the crosswire, obviously, when you move the grating, and then it will happen for a short distance until it comes back. So you have to note down the exact distance up to which the line moves, and then note that down. So that will be the minimum deviation, the difference between the position. So in this video, you can see that the green line moves slowly away from the crossfire, or rather, the crossfire moves away from the green line up to a certain point, and then it comes right back. So the tip of the rotation, the point at which the rotation comes back to the green line, that exact point you have to stop turning the prism table, and you have to leave it as it is after that. You shouldn't touch the prism table, and that position will be the minimum deviation angle for the prism table. Moving on to the tabular column. So the tabular column is basically to find the wavelengths of each spectral line that you can observe. So realistically speaking, you'll be able to see violet 2, blue 1, maybe violet 1, maybe blue green. Definitely you have to see green, yellow 1, yellow 2, and red. So what you have to do is, when you're turning the telescope to look at each line after finding the minimum deviation angle, you have to note down the positions for each spectral line. So, for example, violet 1, my main scale reading is 161 degrees. And vernier divisions, the reading is 7. So, total reading will be MSR plus CVD into least count as usual. So, that will be your value of R for violet 2. And so, basically, that will be in degrees and arc minutes. Then you have to find the value of capital D, which is R, which is specific to violet 2, minus R naught, which, like I said before, is the fixed position of the slit which we measured. So when you subtract R minus R naught, you'll get something like, for this case, 14 degrees 10 arc minutes. And then you take the formula that I mentioned earlier, which is lambda is equal to 2c sine d by 2, the whole thing divided by small n, not capital N. So when you use that formula and calculate it, you can see that violet light's wavelength is correct, because so here violet light is 4050 angstroms, whereas visible light should be between 380 to 750 nanometers. So it's within the region that we know visible light should be. So the value is pretty accurate. And you have to repeat the same for every other spectral line that you can observe. And once you get all of these values, you plot it into another table for the result. So you note down all the colors that you were able to observe and their corresponding wavelengths that you calculated. So that's the experiment.